All right, guys, welcome back. So we had a pretty interesting week with SHLL HYLIION. In my previous video, which I know a lot of you have watched, I mentioned that this past Friday was going to be really important because we would know if the uptrend was confirmed or if it was rejected. So a lot of people have asked me, well, can you do an update? So here's the update, and then we'll also talk about what's the price target for this stock. Like, what do I expect is going to happen after the launch? So of course it's very speculative. I don't have hard data. This is my projections. So let's get started right now. So in my previous video, I mentioned that it was very likely that it was institutional buyers that opened up their position, right? And then the FOMO kicked in with retail buyers and started piling onto the stock, which made it skyrocket. So basically a very short burst of intense buying. And then the question was on Friday, was this trend going to continue up, which gives us confirmation, or is it going to deny it, where we can expect that next week it's going to go back down? So that's the long term trend, right? These are the support and resistance that we had before. So as we can see, this is the support that there was for a long time, and now that's the resistance that we actually crushed on Thursday. So that becomes the new support, right? And then this used to be support that's going to be the new resistance. Isn't it coincidental that it actually bumped against it on Friday, right? And then it was rejected and it went back down. This used to be a support before. See, this is all interconnected. So now the gap that we're looking at is 22 to 26. Whichever way it goes above that or below that is going to tell us a lot about where the stock is going. But if we look on the chart a little bit more closely for Thursday and Friday, what we can see is the worst case scenario almost, right? It started on very strong on Thursday as we analyzed before. Nice spike of buying. At the end of the day, there was more buying, which continued the trend up. Then we kind of, I mean, I was looking at the forums and the message boards, and there was like that intensity that people wanted to buy shares on Friday because now they were excited again. They thought the stock was going to moon, right? Skyrocket. So this is exactly what we saw on Friday. Very quick decline at the beginning of the day, but then kind of a burst of buying until about 12. And look at that nice spike, right? But look at how it bumps straight against the previous support, which is now a resistance, and it just got rejected. Right? Went above, it was above VWAP, then it actually crossed VWAP downward, which is of course pretty bearish sign, and then after that it just went kind of sideways. So to me, what worries me about it is the actual volume, because we see that there was some burst of buying in the morning, right, and on Thursday afternoon, but after that afternoon, there was literally no volume again, right? It totally died down, and this was my biggest fear is the fact that we don't have sustained buying. Just hype for retail investors just isn't enough to sustain the price and make it go up. That's exactly how we got from 33 to 18 in the first place. Yeah, every once in a while there was a little spike, but then there was no volume, so it went back down. It kind of trickled down. So unless there's an announcement early next week, right? Yesterday we had just a revision of the preliminary statement. Hopefully, it would have been the announcement for the shareholder meeting, but it wasn't. It was just a revision. That means that there's probably going to be a few more weeks of waiting. So, in those few weeks, a lot can happen. My guess is that we'll probably go back to 22, and then either it's going to bounce off of it or it's going to go back down towards 20. I don't think at all we're going to go back below 20. I honestly don't expect it. I think the announcements are going to come before that. But don't be surprised if it goes down next week and you have another chance to buy. All right, so now it's finally time to talk about the price target. Do I think it's going to go to 30, 50, or $100 like some people think it will or hope it will? Well, of course, I don't have a crystal ball and neither do you. The only thing we can do is try to gather the pieces of the puzzle and try to anticipate what's going to happen. So some of the clues that we can find is number one, how many shares are there going to be? Well, according to their document with their latest filing, if everyone exercises their warrant, there should be 181 million shares approximately, right? And for the sake of this exercise, we're going to round it up to 200 million to make the numbers easier. And also, one of the proposals that we'll be voting on is to increase the shares from 200,000 to 250. So that doesn't mean that it's getting diluted. It just gives them the option eventually to do so. And for now, we'll use 200 million shares. Okay, so where do we go from here? Well, at the current price of $24, that would give the company approximately a valuation of 4.8 billion. So how does that compare with other companies? Well, this is where it kind of hurts, is that we don't have a lot of comparables. The closest company we have is NKLA, and we'll see. We'll talk about NKLA. So when it comes to NKLA, we can look at the valuation, where the market cap right now at a $45.96 price of the stock is $17.41 billion. And if we look at the analyst ratings, well, they range approximately there. This one at $79 is an outlier, but the other ones 46, 45, 54, right? So we're in that 46 to 50 range. So we can assume that the market cap for NKLA kind of matches what the analysts are expecting. So a value of 17.5 billion, if the two companies were neck and neck and the analysts give them the similar value, right, would give us a total of 17.5 billion divided by 200 million shares. That would bring the share price of HYLIION for now, right, at $87.5. To me, that's very hopeful for a few reasons. So the first reason that makes me think that $85 is possible for HYLIION, but unlikely, is that there has to be collective memory of what happened with NKLA. NKLA spiked to $90 from about 30, and then there was this huge downward trend afterward where people lost a ton of money, because all of these guys in this area bought the stock between $90 and $60, and then they all lost tremendous amounts of money. So even though we like to think that Shell HYLIION is a better company than NKLA, and you're going to tell me that you don't like the CEO, you're going to tell me that there was a lot of fears that the stock was going to get diluted because of all the warrants. I'm aware of all of that, right? And I think that HYLIION is a little bit better than NKLA. But you have to understand that people are going to remember that we can expect that the hype isn't going to last. So a ton of people are going to be selling after that initial spike. So is it possible that it's going to hit $85? I think it is possible, but I wouldn't count on it. Personally, that's not my price target. I think that if we do, it's going to be like one day maybe, like if there's a huge frenzy, but after that, it's not going to hold. So if it ever made it to that point, I'd be selling without blinking. So the second reason why I think that they'll have a lower valuation than NKLA is the fact that the two CEOs are very different. Now this is going to ruffle some feathers. Guys, don't be mad at me. If you disagree, just write it in the comments. But I believe that Trevor Milton, as far as giving enthusiasm towards the stock, is a lot better than Thomas Ely. Thomas Ely, I like the guy, but he's an engineer type. He gets the job done. Trevor Milton is one of the best hype men we've seen in a very long time. As far as PR and marketing is, I mean, the guy's a billionaire and he's never actually produced a tractor trailer yet, right? So you have to give him credit where credit is due. Without him, I don't believe that the stock would have ever gotten to 90 bucks, and I don't think it would be at $45 right now. You can expect him to be on CNBC all the time, hyping the stock, talking about any little progress that they make. He's going to be on CNBC talking about it. So that really helps the valuation. And until HYLIION starts doing that, right? Talking about all of their new things that they're working on. Like they're barely talking about the fact that they're going to be competing in the hydrogen if it actually starts becoming popular. Yeah, there's a little cliff note in the presentation that talks about it. But that's my point, is that Thomas Ely is the kind of guy that gets the job done. He's an engineer. He's going to make good products, but he's not quite a hype man like Trevor Milton is. Now, I'm sure I lost a lot of viewers already, but for those of you sticking around, here's my third argument on why I don't think that $85 or the same valuation as NKLA is realistic in the short to medium term. NKLA has a higher ceiling than HYLIION. I know some of you are going to hate that. Feel free to click the thumbs down button twice, but here's my argument for it. HYLIION is actually making the drivetrain, right? The powertrain. So they're going to be licensing and selling this technology to third-party manufacturers that are going to use them on their tractor trailers. But they're not making the truck themselves. They're basically licensing the technology or building it themselves and selling the parts, right? As opposed to Nikola, who is promising the world to everyone. They're going to be making the tractor trailers. They're going to be making the Badger pickup trucks. They're going to be making wave riders. They're going to be making dune buggies. They're going to be working with the Department of Defense. They're going to build this infrastructure of hydrogen refueling stations, right? So when you look at, in theory, assuming 100% perfect execution from both companies, Nikola would be higher than HYLIION. So that's what the analysts are going to be looking for. They're going to give a premium for that. Now, the opposite is also true. In my opinion, I believe that HYLIION is much, much less risky than Nikola. Nikola has a much higher chance of crashing and burning. They're going to need billions of dollars, and nothing tells us that they'll accomplish anything that they set out to do, as opposed to HYLIION that already has the technology and now they're going to be licensing it and selling it, right? So, and they also already have products on the road. So you understand what, I hope you understand what I'm saying. I believe that HYLIION has a higher floor but also a lower ceiling. Nikola has no floor, it can go to zero, but it also has a premium for the ceiling. The ceiling is a little higher if they execute it perfectly. Analysts are going to be looking at that. And that's why I don't think that the valuation for HYLIION is going to be the same as Nikola. I think it's going to be lower. So what's my verdict on the price target, right? Where do I see it land? Well, I wish we had more comparisons. If a company like Canoo that also does a technology platform for electric vehicle was on the stock market, we would have a better comparison. But for now, all we have is Nikola, and I don't think it's going to be exactly the same. So in the short term, if we're talking about the merger and right after the merger, I do think that there's going to be a significant spike. I'm very bullish on the company. A lot of people are. People are very excited. So people are going to bid it up, right? There's going to be a feeding frenzy. Now, how high does it go? I I'm not convinced it's going to go to $80. I just don't see it. To me, like if it gets to 60, I think that's more logical and then it would retrace back down. My sweet spot where I think the stock's going to be in 6 months to a year, which eventually you guys can come back and watch the video and tell me I was completely wrong, but I'm doing the best with the information I have today. I think the stock is going to be $40 to $45. That's kind of my price target. That's what I expect analysts to give it, which would be an 8 to 9 billion valuation. It's still a lot for a company this early in its stage, but this is the market we're in. So this is where I think reasonably we can expect the price to land, $40 to $45. So next week, if it dips into the low 20s, like 20, 22, as we mentioned in the beginning of the video, I think it's going to be a phenomenal buy. But of course, remember, I'm not your financial advisor. Always consult a licensed professional. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.